What's going on, journalist family? Irvin Felix John with the Fitness Journal, where we provide education, entertainment, and authenticity to the calisthenics game. And today, we're going to be talking about the top 5 mistakes that people make. You've probably made or you're making right now when starting calisthenics and how to avoid them. So for each of the problems that I highlight, I will be giving you a solution to each of those. No, this is not baby oil, right? This is what happens when you're living on a tropical island in the Caribbean and it's humid and hot. So anyway, let's jump straight into it. So if you're new here, I have been doing calisthenics for probably the past 15 years. All the results that you see have primarily come from calisthenics. Now, obviously with the exception of doing some weighted leg routines and things like that, primarily the way I train is utilizing my body weight or body weight movements with additional resistance strapped on, right? So I'm pretty well versed in the game of calisthenics, and if you're questioning my credibility, just go through, watch some of my other videos, and that will put all your questions to rest. So number one, we're going to be talking about neglecting proper form. So neglecting proper form, number one, it will lead to injuries. Like, it might not happen right away, but it will happen eventually. You're not making progress when you're injured. When you're injured, you're not just starting at baseline again. You have to go below baseline and work your way back up to that baseline in order to start to make progress. It makes no sense overexerting yourself before you're capable. Well, you never want to overexert yourself, but you don't want to push yourself so hard when you're starting that you give yourself a crutch that you didn't even have. Right, it's like I wasn't injured when I started. I pushed myself so hard. Now I got injured. I got to go back to the beginning, and then now mentally, messes you up there, and all that stuff. So improper form leads to injuries, and also it makes your workouts less effective. Like, that's all you need to know about the problems that are caused by not focusing on your form. Now, how do we actually fix that? Here's what I always recommend. Grab your camera, set it up, and when you're performing the workout, do the workout, record it, and then you go back and you review it. Now, obviously, you need to have a point of reference where someone who knows what they're doing, or find a YouTube video, someone who's certified in what the movement that you're trying to attempt to do, and you compare it. You're like, okay, good, full range of motion there, great, and then that should give you that check off that you're looking for. Or get a coach or get someone, a workout partner who's more seasoned than you are. Number 2, skipping the warm-up. Now, we know our catchphrase here is,
it's just a warm-up.
but let's keep this in mind, right? When you're doing an exercise that especially is explosive or unilateral, you want to make sure that you're doing a simplified variation of that exercise for the warm-up before you actually get into it. Now, you can do the general warm-up, do burpees, do jumping jacks, do things like that just to get the core temperature to raise. You break out into a little sweat, the elasticity of your muscles increase. That's one way to warm up. But when you're doing, once again, exercise that are a little bit more intense, progressively they'll get more intense. Start with the basic variation. So if you're doing jump squats mainly in your workout, for the main part of the workout, start by doing box squats, right? Just get those muscles to get engaged, let them warm up, let the elasticity, those properties, let them start to get engaged. So when you get into that workout, you're not, once again, injuring yourself. We want to avoid injuries at all costs. So you'll find like, oh, well, I don't want to waste my energy in a warm-up. You will not. The warm-up will get you active, fully active and ready to go once you reach deeper and deeper into your main routine. And we'll get a little bit more scientific in the future, but we want to keep in mind that when you're working out, a lot of people aren't working out to the threshold where they're actually getting stronger, right? The main workout, that when you start to do your workout, it starts with the deep muscle fibers, and then it works its way up to the superficial muscle fibers. And if you're not training with enough intensity to get to those superficial muscle fibers, you will not be getting strong efficiently, I should say, right? So the solution for that is we always want to start with a brief 5 to 10 minute warm up. Like I say, go through the general and then start with a more specific warm up for what the actual routine is of that day. Right, so once again, just for an example, you start, if you're doing jump squats or something more explosive for the main part of the workout, start with box squats. So it's like you start sitting in your chair and then you stand up, stuff like that. I'll pop it over the screen to be able to see it there, but keep those in mind. Now, this is probably one of the more common ones. This is number 3, and this is doing too much too soon. So this is especially for people who have maybe not trained for a long time. They used to be in pretty decent shape, and they try and jump back in, and they're like, I know I could do that. I've been strong for years, even though I've taken a 7-year hiatus. But I was strong in high school. I'm going to jump back in and do all the stuff I used to do. You're going to get injured. You see, the common theme here is a lot of these things lead to injury. So you don't want to jump in and do too much too soon. Progression is key. Progressive overload. We start with the simple rep range, variations, sets, rest period time. Start simple, and then you evolve as you go further and further into your program, right? And that's why having a program is so important. If you're going here and then the next day you're over there and then the next week you're over there and you're all over the place, you're not going to be making effective progress, especially in the time frame that you want to see it. A lot of people, they'll be in the gym for years and you won't really see them make significant progress, and you'll see someone jump in who actually has a structured program, and in a couple weeks you start to see them like, whoa, you got way stronger already. Then months pass by and you're like, whoa, it hadn't even been a year. Look at how this guy looks. So that's why having structure is so important, and progression is key. Do not do too much too soon. So like I said, the solution is to gradually increase the intensity. The variations make them more difficult, all those things over time. If you're doing weighted calisthenics, progressively add more resistance over time. Even time under tension, you progressively increase the time that you're holding. All those things. All we're looking at for the solution here is progression. Number 4, lack of consistency. This is probably the number one thing that people always tell me about is, Irv, I just can't be consistent. Now, here's my saying is consistent good beats occasional perfection. A lot of people are looking for that perfect workout. They get in there, they're motivated before they even get in the gym, and they're just like, I'm ready. This is going to be the best workout I ever had. And honestly, sometimes that is the best workout that they have in a long period of time, and they're looking for that to be the case every single time. Now, that won't be it. Right? Lack of consistency, it doesn't allow your body to adapt. So it's like you're always starting over again. You're consistent for a week, and then 3 weeks go by, and you're like, I need to jump back in, and then you're starting over again. Every time you're starting over again, and yes, you get demotivated. You're like, this is a waste of my time. I'm not going to keep coming back here. Right? So lack of consistency is one of the major things that stop people from seeing progress. And I promise you, if you were consistent for 8 weeks, you wouldn't quit, because once you start to see the way you feel, the way you look in the mirror, all those things, you're gonna be like, what? I did this in 8 weeks, right? And a lot of people don't even make it that far along to start to realize those type of results. It doesn't take that long. Right? It's just about having consistency. You have a structure, and the solution for becoming consistent, there's a lot of different solutions, but accountability is one of those major things. When you have a plan, when you have a structure or program, and you're held accountable to that thing, it is incredibly difficult to fall off. You feel like, I don't want to make it look like I'm a liar, or I don't want to look like a fraud to my friend or to my coach when I said I'm going to do this. It makes you question your character when your friend is showing up, your coach is showing up, but you're not there, right? So I would say one of the main solutions that you should look for lack of consistency, number 1, you got to have a structure, right? Have a structure, have a program, be held accountable. So especially when you're putting your money where your mouth is, if you're paying a coach, like you're paying more attention, because you're like, I'm not going to donate to this person for no reason, right? So those are solutions that you can look at. If you don't have a program, start by getting a program. Even if it's a random program that you find online, a random program, a random set of videos that you follow online, something that will give you structure where you can anticipate what's coming next. And number 5, one of the major ones, is structural imbalances, right? So a lot of people, when they get into the gym, get into the park, whatever, they start their workout journey, they just kind of resort to their favorite thing. A lot of people just get down and do push-ups, and then you start to develop those imbalances. And what that means is, for example, if we're talking about push-ups and you're doing excessive amounts of push-ups, the adaptive shortening, your muscles in your back are getting shorter and shorter. I mean, the muscles in your chest are getting shorter and shorter. The ones in the back are expanding, and you start to get what's called kyphosis, the rounding over of the shoulder, the forward neck position. And that's not good for your posture. It's not good for your anatomy and your body, right? So structural imbalance. How do we actually look to solve that problem? Understand the planes of motion. So vertical push-pull, horizontal push-pull, lateral movement, rotational movements, hip dominant and knee dominant. Once you incorporate all those movements into your structured program, you will never have a problem with structural imbalances, right? Because you'll always be targeting the muscle groups that are associated with those planes of motion. Like I said, you're gonna go in, you're gonna do what you know best, what you're familiar with, just doing the basic, do a push-up, do a pull-up, and that's about it, right? If you're doing horizontal pushing, which is the push-ups, you got to be doing for horizontal pulling as well, which would be like inverted rows. You grab a set of bands, you do rows like that, where you're targeting the posterior chain. You're gonna feel better. Your strength is gonna go up way quicker, a lot higher, because those compounding muscles, they're working together, right? Something's not trying to take, compensations aren't taking place because, I'm not working these muscles at all. Now I have pain here. This is aching me. That's not what we're dealing with, right? So the solution for that is making sure that you have a program that incorporates all those planes of motion. Now, in order of importance, I want you to comment in the comment section below which one of these you think are most important. Like, if you feel like you focus on that, you would see significant progress quicker. We know all of them are important, but in order of importance. So from the top one to the bottom one, which one do you think is the most important that you focus on out the gate? Now, keep in mind, once you start to focus on putting all these into a structured, systematic format, you will see results. It's virtually impossible not to see results, right? All these problems, I put them together like that because this is what people ask me about all the time, and then when I'm having a discussion with them, it's very easy to identify where they're going wrong, right? And the good thing about that, when it's easy to identify, it's easy to identify what you need to do to fix it. So these are problems. If you are experiencing any of these things, expound on it. Like, think about, how am I doing this right now? Like, if I'm doing structural, and if my workouts are not structurally balanced, what can I do right now, as of this very moment, to make my workouts more structured, right? Number one, just look at, are you going through all those planes of motion? Does your routine encapsulate every plane of motion? Vertical pull, vertical push, all of that. Does it encapsulate all of that? And if it doesn't, then you have your solution to the problem right there. So that's it for now. I'm going to keep this one relatively short to the point. We'll get more scientific, but these are just, like I said, I feel like this is very common. People are asking me this all the time. Very common, very simple solution. It's easy, but it's simple, but it's not easy to execute, right? You have to have a structure. And when you have a structure, then yes, you just go with the program, you go with the system. Systems outdo goals, right? Yes, have a goal, of course, obviously, but the most important thing to achieving that goal is the system. When you have a system set in place, you don't have to think, you just have to move through the system. It's cues. It's like, this is what I have to do, this is what I have to do, this is what I have to do, and you just go through it automatic. It becomes automated. So that's it for now. We know health is wealth, get money, and we already know it is always the warm-up. Squeeze!